Hey y'all, it's Brittany.
And it's Juke, and you are now tuned into 10-minute topics with the finance dolls.
Today's topic is the Trembles and trauma with money.
So usually for our 10-minute topics, we do more of a teaching style where we're giving you practical tips that you can implement in your life in order to increase your financial situation. Today, we're gonna have a conversation actually that we need to have, that honestly you can't really talk about money without having this conversation, if we're being real, and that is the trauma of money. And so the reason why this was brought about is because as we were shopping for our outfits for the show, shout out to Bink and Bougie, that's our girl. We went in the store and she's the sweetest person ever. You definitely should shop with her. But when I inserted my card to pay for my stuff, she saw the look on my face, and that's when I realized, like, I have this thing, and I'm calling it card anxiety, right? Like, every time I swipe my card, I have this little tremble. It's like, maybe it's gonna approve or maybe not. Knowing good and well, I'm not in that situation anymore where I even have to worry about that, but I still have that trauma. Yeah. And I think another classic example of this, and you don't realize it like until it just shows up in different areas, is that I distinctly remember being in college, Brittany, and oh my God, crazy story, but it was me and like car full of friends, and I had my white Cougar coupe that I got when I was in high school, 1999, and the year's like 08, 09, so it's an old car. And so we're in Wendy's, and my car just stops. Like I'm in and I don't even know if this is one of the ones where like people can get from around you. Yeah, so I think you like just kind of stuck behind me. People are pissed. And
They're trying to get their food, honey.
They trying to get their food. My friends in the car, college people, they were kind of looking like, oh, girl, the ghetto. Oh, that's fine. You a home, honey, the ghetto. And ever since my car stopped, I got a new car after that. Praise God for that. But after that, like, I would not buy a used car. I couldn't because of that situation that happened to me. Even though I would say a lot of times it's better for you to buy certified pre-owned than it is to buy new, financially making sense. And a lot of times, well, all of the time, it's better for you to buy maybe an economy car than a luxury car. Yeah. But because of some of those traumas, it prompts us to make, certain decisions that we wouldn't normally make if we were using our logical mind, but it's a trauma response.
We want to make sure that everybody knows that we are no longer where we used to be.
Exactly, because of the trauma of that. And for some people, for me, this wasn't necessarily a problem, but some people, it's like they have to have certain nice threads because they were dingy, as they would say, going to school, right? Or they have to have certain shoes because they had holes in their shoes. Yeah. Like Dolph said, ball hog for the days when I didn't have it. And I think, especially in the Black community, we demonize each other a lot for buying the jewelry or buying the designer bags and things of that nature, but we really never have a conversation of why are you doing certain things?
And it shows up a lot, like you said, in our community. So some of my trust clients have actually gotten their trust funds from what's considered structured settlements. And that's from personal injuries or like medical malpractice. And in a lot of these situations, these families come from lower income. And so when we get the trust account and
poverty, to be specific.
Yeah. When we get that account and we start talking, $1 million, a couple $1 million, they're like, yeah, well, I want this $600,000 home and I want this $50,000 to $100,000 car, and not realizing that this may be a lot of money right here, right now, but if you're living on this for the rest of your life because you're in a situation where you can't keep up the income, you're gonna eventually exhaust it, right? But a lot of it really comes from, I wasn't able to, now I have the means and I just want to get everything that I had on my wish list.
Right, exactly. And it's like, I don't want to ever be in this position again, but unfortunately you started making decisions that actually put you in that position again. Yep. But then again, like I said, going back to the trauma of it all, especially in the Black community, we've experienced things like prejudice, discrimination. Yeah. You go to a car lot, they think you can't afford it. right? So now you got to prove that you can afford it. You go to some of these higher end stores. Before, higher end stores used to be really snooty, right? Like they'll almost, if you look a certain way, point you directly to the clearance rack.
Yeah. Or ask you, follow up behind you and ask you if you need any help to make sure you don't take anything. Let's just be honest.
To make sure you're not stealing, right? And so all of those things, like, deep down inside can lead you to make some decisions that's not necessarily in your best interest.
Yeah, like there is a particular rapper, I cannot remember his name, but I remember he walked into a store and they were following behind him. He ended up like tweeting about it or posting on Instagram. They were following behind him like he was about to steal something. So he went and dropped 60 racks in the store just to prove that he had it. So here he is trying to prove a point, ended up feeding and funding the company that basically showed him prejudice. Yeah. So he just handed someone money.
You increased their revenue and decreased your money, right? Just to prove a point. And that is how serious it is. There are people that would never fly anything but first class for that reason. And I can't say I necessarily I get it. I understand, but I will say that, you have to address those traumas.
Absolutely.
Especially before you become a mom or a dad. And let's be real here. Let's be completely honest. If we're going to talk about it, we might as well talk about it. Where financial abuse shows up a lot in trauma is in relationships. Mm-hmm. We're not going to go too deeply in that because I think
we need a part 2.
We need a whole 10 minutes just to talk about relationships. Yeah. But in general, these traumas and things that you have, if we're being completely honest, when you're not in a great financial situation, it's hard to be in a good mental situation.
And when you're not in a good mental situation, it's hard to get yourself into a good financial situation.
That's exactly right. So you end up getting stuck in what they call a loop.
Yeah, that mindset.
That exactly. So what would you recommend for somebody that's stuck in a money trauma loop where they're making these decisions that's leading them back into poverty, but at the same time, they just can't help themselves because of how they feel about certain things?
I think the most important thing is to have the conversation like we're having and to really recognize it and accept it. In the same way that you would talk to a therapist about emotional traumas and childhood traumas, speak about the money trauma that you may have experienced, because the only way to get through it is to heal through it.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, we will go to therapy for other things, but we don't see lack and money trauma as a real trauma. It is. It's one of the most
more than just one. How you were treated growing up or family issues or whatever, that money, because I mean, money rules. Let's just be honest.
It does.
Right?
Yes.
You gotta have money to do anything.
Yeah.
And so it is the center of a lot of, honestly, that trauma that we were just discussing.
So I'll say this. Tune in to our next episode for sure. We're going to talk about financial abuse in relationships and trauma related to that. You do not want to miss that episode. While you're here, though, will you please share, and comment? There's no trauma associated with that because it's free.
It's free. Okay. Follow us at Finance Dolls on Instagram.
Until next time, y'all.
Bye. Bye.